Hey, party people in the place to be. It's Blag the Ripper, and I'm back with another episode of Songs and Lyrics. My guest for the second dramatic time, Dirty Donny, noted poster artist, designer, and longtime scenester. Hailing originally from Ottawa, Canada, where he held down the Canadian scene for years. He is a California transplant. He's now living out in the desert. I knew him from up here in San Francisco, and through our mutual friend, Frank Kozik, we went to a tribute to him yesterday. A great, great man. And if you can look up anything having to do with our friend Frank Kozik, you really should do so. He is going to be sorely missed. A beautiful, beautiful man.
He is, and it was quite a I don't know what you want to call it, but like a tribute. It was very nice, very touching, a lot of stories, and and also it was really cool to get you guys in the same room together a few years ago. This is maybe 5 years ago that we did the Dirty Donny TV podcast, my YouTube show, and I had you and Frank, tell war stories, if you will. That was a lot of fun.
I love talking to Frank because he kind of did the same thing I did. First of all, we both love to hear ourselves talk, which was part of it. But the other thing with Frank was that, there's a lot of people who can tell a story, but there's not a lot of people who have a lot of facts. I mean, Frank was a thinker and a reader and knew about things. Right. And what can I say? I mean, I'm a snotty bastard, but that's what bums me out about rock and roll half the time, is that I love the people, I love what it is, but goddamn, man, could you read a fucking book or do some thinking every once in a while, And Frank really was that guy, and he knew about everything from, fixing up cars to how they salt peanuts and everything in between. I thought that was a great story. Yeah. And, he was always curious. If you really got to nail down, part of what made Frank so important and why so many people loved him, I think it was because he cared. He thought about stuff. He wondered about it, and he changed his mind sometimes. And he wasn't always stuck.
Right. Yeah, totally. And he thought the world of you too. He would talk about you, and he's like, "Oh, Blag's a really cool guy. He's a really smart guy." And when you and I, when I met you, I was like, "He's not so smart. He's kind of dumb, actually." I'm just joking. I'm joking. No, you're a sweetheart, man. You guys are kind of two peas in a pod. So anyways, it was really great to have you guys on my show and to have you guys talk and interact with each other. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to do that, man.
So go back and check that out. Dirty Donny, of course, got his show on YouTube and just all kinds of things. Got his finger in a million pots. Animation, poster design, of course, is kind of the bread and butter, but he designs tools and just all kinds of things that this is a man of many dimensions and a collector of things. His house is like nothing I've ever seen. But we're here to talk about songs.
We are.
And lyrics,
music,
Donny.
And we got to get our fingers out of the butts, so out of the pies.
That's right. So the song that Donny has selected for this week's episode is Danny Says by the Ramones. Let's check it out.
Then he says we gotta go to Idaho, but we can't go surfing 'cause it's 20 below. Sound checks and 502, record stars and interviews. Oh, but I can't wait to be with you tomorrow, baby. We got nowhere to go, and it may sound fun.
Danny says we should be calling it Donny says this week, but
should be Donny
Donny,
says.
give me your initial take on this. What is it that really drew you to this one? I wasn't expecting this for a Ramones song, so you tell me.
Right. Well, hey, it's such a touching song, such a like a I don't know, that song just grabs me, and I'm a big Ramones fan, as I'm sure a lot of listeners are, and I'm sure you are as well. Just love the band, and I was really into the first four records, right up to Road to Ruin, and this was such a departure for them, going with Phil Spector, and it's one of my favorite. Like, I've got a lot of favorite Ramones records, but this is one of my favorite Ramones records. And that song just jumps out. And what really jumped out was the demo version that I just discovered that actually came out in 2002, but I just discovered it, and maybe we can play that as well. And it's available on I think this is a 2002 special edition CD. I don't know if they put it out on vinyl or not, but it's so raw and just like unspectratized, I guess. And
I did play the demo version, and I did it specifically for that
okay,
reason.
you did. Okay, sorry.
Because here was what made me wonder. Donnie comes up and says, let's do this song, but he doesn't want the version that's on the Phil Spector record, the hated Ramones record that I hate, that everyone else seems to hate.
Yeah.
And that seems to have gotten everything fucking wrong. I mean, starting with one of the all-time great Ramones. Well, first of all, I mean, later I'll go into my spiel about what the Ramones mean to me. I probably have already on some of these shows that folks have heard, because the Ramones really mean more to me than any other band, I think. For various reasons, but we'll go into that later. But as far as this big rift, there does seem to be one group of kind of cantankerous contrarians that say, no, I like End of the Century. I like what Phil Spector did. And look, you're wrong. I don't know what else to say. And here comes Donnie. He loves this song, but he picks the one that isn't on that record. And look, Phil Spector was the wrong guy to do the Ramones. And this is a good example of how people kind of have their era. I have so much respect for Spector and for what he did in creating that girl group song, sound, and the wall of sound, for his songwriting ability. Plus, he's just a kook, I mean, he was an easy rider. He liked to freak out. The Ramones tell the story of how he held them there at gunpoint.
With gunpoint, yeah, amazing story.
And, you can just see it. These
it's in
guys,
their film, too, End of the Century, their film. They talk about it, I believe, and it's in all the books, too.
Like the 60s are over, and a lot of the 60s casualties lost their fucking minds, and certainly Spector, I mean, he's wound up cooling his heels in a jail cell for the end of his life because he killed somebody, or maybe he didn't kill him, blah, blah. I mean,
so it's supposed to be his comeback album, right? He was kind of a wash-up at that point considered, and it was kind of his comeback. What I liked about it was that they did that, and that it exists. It's actually a record that happened. Now, maybe it shouldn't have happened.
Chance.
And that record, that's what I like about the demos, because it doesn't have the Spector stuff on it. So it's really raw. So I would love to hear that album just like as Tommy Ramone produced it. That would be rad.
Well, that's the thing. Okay,
so that would be cool. But it's neat to hear. It's part of their era. That's why I like it. But I get why people hate it.
I hate it because of what they did to Rock and Roll High School. Because there's such a clear example of the right version of Rock and Roll High School, which is on the soundtrack.
Right.
Rock, 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 rock on high school. Well, I don't care if that is the me. Rock, rock, rock on high school. That's not where I wanna be. Rock, rock, rock on high school. I just wanna have some kicks. I just wanna get some chicks. Rock, 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 rock on high school. When if the girls out there like me and you know. Rock, rock, rock on high school. Twisted around in my GTO. Rock, rock, rock on high school. I hear the teachers and the principals don't want me called to be no fool. Rock, 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 rock on high school. Rock, 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 rock on high school. Fun, fun, rock and roll high school. Fun, fun, rock and roll high school. Fun, fun, rock and roll high school. Fun, fun, oh baby. Fun, fun, oh baby. Fun, fun, rock, 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 rock.
And for me, even this Danny Says, which is sort of the mellower side of the Ramones, and one of the only sort of redeeming features of End of the Century, I really like that song, I Want You Around, which is on the soundtrack of the Ramones. In fact, we should play a little bit of that, because that's one that you never hear.
Yeah.
I want you around. I want you around. They're telling us it when you find out I want you around. You know if it comes true, I'll be so good to you. I'll never treat you cruel as long as I've got you.
Okay, so I Want You Around.
song,
I
great
mean,
song.
to me, that's
Yeah.
sort of what Danny says should have been. I'll
Right.
tell you why I'm not that crazy about it, because this seems like a little kiss ass to their manager. And they had a very cool manager who also, I mean, Danny Fields, you could do a whole show about this
Just
guy.
on Danny Fields and
I
the
mean,
Stooges and all
you
this-
know,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
the guy that brought the Stooges to Elektra.
Jim Morrison. And,
Yeah,
believe
I mean-
the Doors. And
Oh,
stuff,
that's right.
yeah,
I think he signed the Doors, or was responsible for bringing the Doors in. And so just having that consciousness of knowing what was happening in L.A. and also knowing what was happening in New York, and
York.
not just being New York centric like a lot of those New York
Right.
people are, who can't, you know what I mean? And L.A.
Right.
does this too, but there's a lot, you know, I'm from Illinois, you're from Ottawa. We kind of understand that there's cool shit everywhere.
Right.
People who come from New York really believe that
It's
New
just a
York
bubble.
is the center of
Yeah.
the universe. And
Yeah.
people from LA
LA
are the
just
same fucking
same
way.
way. Yeah, totally.
And
Yeah,
people
yeah.
from Nashville
Yeah.
are the same fucking way. And it's like, motherfucker, this is America, and kind of Canada. And you know, it's like you know, there's cool shit from everywhere.
Yeah.
But so Danny says, I mean, it's kind of like it's dropping a lot of little references, and to me, like, this is the kind of thing that doesn't touch me. It kind of reminds me of when they'll be like, they'll make a movie about making movies, or they'll make a TV show about what it's like behind the scenes at the TV show, or they'll make a
Right,
TV show about like what it's like behind the scenes of the rock band. And I'm
Yeah,
always
yeah,
like,
yeah.
motherfucker, you know?
Right. It's
You're-
also sorry to cut you off. It's also supposed to be allegedly a love song to Linda Ramone, who later left Joey for Johnny Ramone.
Yeah, I don't see that in
no,
here.
no.
I mean, well, there's
Okay,
nothing
yeah,
in
yeah.
there lyrically.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
they
yeah.
say it in Wikipedia, but I don't.
Just put
really
it out there.
get
That's what they say. And
Yeah, you know,
Could
and
be.
there's
But,
that whole controversy
right.
with the Ramones, with the you know, Joey's girlfriend left him for Johnny, and there was a great rift forever.
Right, they never talked, and yeah.
You know, I mean, I think a lot is made of that, and it's a sad situation because for those of us who love the Ramones, I mean, I have a little half-baked theory about the Ramones, and you tell me what you think about this. But to
Okay.
me, part of what makes the Ramones arguably the
No, I
greatest rock
disagree.
and roll band, the greatest rock and roll band of all time, is that they are a band, not a group of individuals.
Uh-huh.
This is why George Harrison is my favorite Beatle, because as soon as George isn't there, I really don't give a fuck. And it's like, we must have all four Beatles together, you know what I mean? And
Right.
which isn't to say the other ones didn't do cool shit, but it's like, I need all four Beatles. I love the Beatles. I need all four Ramones. I love the Ramones. And
Yeah.
to me, it always kind of made a corpus. And what it was, you know, Johnny's the heart. And he's the guy who would write a song like this, or like, you know, 7-Eleven, or, you know, she's the one, or you know, that's Joey. You know, he was always
Right, right.
rewriting a girl group song with that minor sixth chord in it, and it was always a love song and whatever. Dee Dee is the soul of the Ramones. He's, you know, DDT did a job on me. He's the sick, demented. He's the one writing about carbona, not glue, right?
Yeah.
Tommy is the brains of the Ramones. He's the one that came up with the production sound, kind of conceived a lot of it, and is really the guy who gets the least due and deserves more than anyone has given him, I think.
Yeah.
And Johnny, of course, is the guts of the Ramones. So to me, they're like a body. And they don't really work without each other. And then, you know, Marky comes in and various things happen. I like the records Marky was on. I like Pleasant Dreams a lot, and I like Road to Ruin a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, he's in the movie, and I love Rock and Roll High School. I think it's arguably one of the greatest music movie next to Hard Day's Night.
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night. I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel alright. You know I work all day to get your money to buy a thing, and it's worth it just to hear you say you're gonna give me everything. So why on earth should I moan? 'Cause when I get you alone, you know I feel okay.
But where was I going with this? So this is an example of Joey the heart,
Yes.
and I can feel his
It's kind of
heart
a Joey
in this.
album, I think. It's because apparently Phil Spector was like Joey, 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 and was very like into Joey, and the other, I guess the other band members were kind of like, what the fuck, this is
Right.
where's our Ramones, and stuff. So
Well, and of course, he comes from that older school thing of who cares about who the band is? We're bringing in the Wrecking Crew to do the music. Fuck
Right,
you.
right,
He
yeah,
probably just wasn't used to the whole Ramones thing. But where Spector fails here is in understanding that Johnny ushered in the era of I'm doing all downstrokes, I'm playing guitar, I'm hitting every chord, there's nothing subtle here, and I'm going through a Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
And, that, or whatever kind of amp they use, high watts or whatever it was, but it was an overdriven heavy amp.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Spector was a 60s guy. He never made that leap. He didn't make the Stooges leap. He didn't make the hard guitar leap. And that's really why this record sucks and why I was so interested in this demo version. Because all this is the same damn song.
I beg to differ that it sucks, but
It's the same damn song
yeah.
at the same damn tempo.
Yeah.
But the guitars are right. These are the
Yeah.
Ramones guitars and what they're supposed to sound like. Let's play a little bit of Phil Spector's just so I'm being fair.
Right,
And
yeah.
and you tell me, all right? So on the other end of this, we've
well, we've got Danny Says, and then we've got I Want You Around.
Right.
Or, is that a good one, or one do you pick?
Then he says we gotta go to Idaho, but we can't go surfing 'cause we're swimming below. Send checks at 502, record stores and interviews. Oh, but I can't wait to be with you tomorrow. Baby, oh, 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 we got nowhere to go, and it may sound funny, but it's true. Ooh, hanging out in 100 feet, watching Get Smart on TV. Thinking
Okay, so we've now heard Spector's version of Danny Says, and yeah, I think he didn't get the guitar sound right for the Ramones. It might be kind of right as like, oh, let's make this a different song. Let's pioneer a different Ramones sound.
Yeah.
But he didn't pioneer the right different Ramones sound.
I get
'Cause
you.
again,
I get you.
what you get from I Want You Around is it still has the right approach to drums and bass. It still has the right approach to rhythm section to be the Ramones. They just go for acoustic guitars instead of electric guitars. But even at that, the acoustic guitars are laid in just as heavy as Ramones' electric guitars.
Right.
And he didn't go, and Johnny used that Mosrite kind of surf guitar, single coil pickup, I believe. And again, don't quote me on gear shit, man. I'm not a
Right,
gear
right.
guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like part of why Johnny's sound is slightly different than all of the latter day bands like Dwarves or whoever who play this same heavy style is because we all tend to play Gibsons with humbuckers or Fenders. And, Johnny's using an old Mosrite guitar, but he's cranking it through a modern amp.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, that was what Spector missed on this record. It's not that I don't like mellow things or music with holes in it or music that doesn't do that. It's just this is the fucking Ramones. It wasn't the right band to do this with. I think if Phil Spector would have gotten a hold of Susie and the Banshees or something, it might have been very interesting. Or if he
Yeah.
would have gotten a hold of any number, Public Image Limited, who the fuck knows?
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
but the Ramones, it's so important to have that Johnny guitar sound because that was his one and only innovation. And when you lose that, to me, you really lose. It's like when you lose George, you lose the Beatles. When you lose Johnny's guitar, you lose the Ramones. To me.
Right. Well, great points, Blag. Great points. Again, I just love that album. Just because it's different. It's but I do. I love like, and I picked this song too. Just it's kind of a curveball, you know. Like I could have gone to any Ramones song that is like probably way better. I
I'm
don't know.
glad you
But,
did this.
You know, it's just different. It's different.
Yeah.
You know, I love the first record is probably my favorite. You know, and the first 4 records are amazing. I mean, all the records are great. This is just such a different record, so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of almost like the Paul's Boutique one we did. You know, it was sort of like a different record for them.
Right,
kinda,
but
you
the
know?
Beastie Boys,
That'd be just
Car
something
Thief.
different. I mean, we
Yeah.
we could do any band. You know, we could just throw out any like you know popular punk song or whatever and tear it apart. But I thought this would be
Yeah, I'm
interesting.
glad
know?
you came
That's
from
why-
this
that's
angle
why-
with this, and
Yeah.
and
That'd be interesting,
because
you know?
it gives us a conversation to have. I guess I should go into my Ramones spiel, and I'll try and truncate it because I know I've done this on other shows. I grew up in a household full of music. My dad loved all of the hit songs of the 20s, 30s, 40s. That to him was music. He was one of those guys who. He was probably 25 when Elvis came out and just kind of decided, oh, right, I don't listen to music anymore. I mean, it was just, if my dad heard anything, I remember being in high school listening to a Marvin Gaye record, my dad saying, oh, cowboy music. And I was like, cowboy music? And he's like, well, it's got a guitar in it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like there's a certain generation of people for whom as soon as you introduce a guitar, it's cowboy music. And,
Right,
my dad was one of those. So I really grew up with the oldies, Fred Astaire and Dancing Cheek to Cheek. Not the oldies like, hey, it's Elvis. Like the oldies of everything before that.
Yeah.
And my folks loved musicals, and my dad would march around doing Sousa, John Philip Sousa marches, right? So to me, there was like old music, and then rock and roll, and so there was that. And then my brother was into very sophisticated jazz, so he would sit around listening to John Coltrane blowing for 25 minutes, and the
Yeah.
Art Ensemble of Chicago.
That's a whole other thing too. I mean, it's
McCoy
like
Tyner and all that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's amazing. That's a whole other thing. It's like.
It is a whole other thing, and most people, again, like me, who are punk rockers, are not grounded in that. But the point I wanted to make, and then my biggest influence was Frank Zappa. I thought he was a genius, and I was very influenced by sort of the comedy stuff of the day. So, I mean, I only tell that autobiographical stuff to sort of illustrate this point.
Right.
I loved all that stuff, whether it was the oldest great American pop, whether it was something sophisticated with an arrangement from, Guys and Dolls or The Music Man, or whether it was, these incredible jazz guys blowing stuff. But it all made me feel hopeless. It all made me feel hopeless. I loved music, but I couldn't do any of that stuff. I couldn't conceive of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't learn it. I couldn't think about it.
That's a classic story too. Yeah.
The
a lot.
Ramones freed me. When I heard the Ramones, suddenly I could do it. And I understood what folk music meant. And folk music doesn't mean you have an acoustic guitar and you're earnest. Folk music means anybody can do it and anybody can understand it. And it's all just a question of your style and how you do it. And when I heard the Ramones, which to me, arguably, I think hip hop and punk rock are the last two American folk music forms. And they're folk music forms
That makes
because
sense, yeah.
the folks do it and the folks grabbed it and did it. And there are sophisticated versions of it. There's Joan Baez singing her version of folk. And then there's Billy Bragg doing his version and whatever. And so for me, hearing the Ramones was liberating. When I heard them, I could play that on the guitar. I could sing that. And they freed me. And I'll always have to thank the Ramones for that, for making my music career possible. And so I really feel for them in this era, because what they were trying to say was, hey, we're really a pop band. And hey, we really are part of the fabric of American music. and we're really not this thing that got written up in all the as punk. Oh, it's people spitting on each other and puking, and it's shit that goes so fast you can't understand it, and there's no, you know what I mean? So I feel a great kinship with them because I could see them kicking back against people saying, well, you're just dumb and this is what you are. Mm-hmm. It's just this wasn't the solution.
Yeah.
And to me, Pleasant Dreams really was. That was the next record after End of the Century. It, too, has a softer Ramones sound, but Graham Gouldman from 10cc.
Communication is the problem to the answer. You've got a number and your hand is on the phone. The weather's turned and all the lines are down. The things we do for love. The things we do for love. Like walking in the rain and the snow when there's nowhere to go. When you're feeling like a part of you is dying. And you're looking for the answer in her eyes. You think you're gonna break up, then she says she wants to make up. Ooh, you make me love you. Ooh, you got away.
Got it right. He at least updated it to, it was enough guitar to be the Ramones, it was enough rhythm section to be the Ramones, but it was softer than the sort of original canon of Ramones records. And so maybe we should play something from Pleasant Dreams here.
Yeah.
My favorite, the KKK took my baby away.
Took my baby away. Hey, hey.
She went away for the holidays. Says she's going to LA, but she never got there. She never got there. She never got there. They say she went away for the holidays. Says she's going to LA, but she never got there. She never got there. She never got there. They say the KKK took my baby away. They took her away from me. The KKK took my baby away. They took her away from me.
All right, we just heard the KKK took my baby away, and of course, that is sort of the quintessential Joey versus Johnny.
Allegedly, yeah.
And
we don't know for sure
I
about
can
that,
see it in that because he's saying this conservative is now with my girl who I belong with.
Yeah.
And it was very, I could see it in that. In Danny Says, it just kind of sounds like a love letter to, I'm a rock star, I'm in a hotel room, I got a cool manager, I like cool things. It never meant as much to me for that reason.
Lyrically, yeah.
But it means something to me in terms of just the kind of plaintive way that he delivers it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, where are you at on KKK Took My Baby Away? Is that because to me that's kind of what the softer Ramones should have been.
Yeah, no, I want to think like lyrically it's about Johnny taking away because that was a big deal. I just read the book I Slept with Joey Ramone. Have you read that book yet?
Oh, by his brother. I
yeah.
haven't.
Out of all the Ramones books, this has been my favorite one. It's so well done. Legs McNeil did it with his brother,
right?
Mickey Lee, and it's I've actually I'm almost done reading it twice. It was one of those books I just had to read it twice. There's so much cool information in it, and they said they talked about about that song, and they talked about kind of how they blew it on that record cover for Pleasant Dreams. Like they're like, what's this? It's kind of got a weird cover.
Yeah,
like,
it is kind of a goofy cover.
Yeah, and kind of not Ramones.
Yes.
So that record, great record, but blew it on the cover. I agree with that.
Yes.
Maybe should have been another photo of them.
Absolutely.
That's them. It's like maybe a cartoon of them, but there's Road to Ruin, but just classically like them standing there in their leathers and their jeans,
Yeah,
it's
which
like,
happened in the
that's
next one that people tried to push as like, this is the important one. I think it was Subterranean Jungle came next, and then Too Tough to Die, where it was like, the Ramones are back.
Yeah, and Subterranean Jungle is a funny thing. They have Marky Ramone he's in the window.
Oh,
I guess because
right.
they're about to kick him out.
Oh,
because they
right.
kicked him out for like a couple of records, right?
Yes,
and then they
that's
put him
right.
back in. So like, just have him in the side. We'll put him in. I think that's the deal.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
it's kind of weird. They're standing there, and then there's like he's kind of sitting.
The
there
later
looking,
Ramones records, I have a more
window.
complicated relationship with. I have friends like Nick Oliveri who swears by every song on every Ramones record, and God bless him,
from start to finish.
Nick is a fan,
right up to the end,
and
last records.
For me, I think my love for those first 4 records is so profound.
Me too.
That
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to love the other ones in the same way. But the reason I love Pleasant Dreams, aside from really KKK, which to me is arguably their best song, is that they did what they set out to do in End of the Century.
Right.
That to me is like it delivers on the promise of End of the Century, which the guy from 10cc was able to deliver on, where the guy from the 60s was not. The guy from the 70s was able to deliver on it. The guy from the 60s, it was a little too out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah,
and Phil Spector just could not make this happen. And look, I'm not gonna soft soap it. If you're going to come in with all the crazy shit and the guns and the weirdness, then back it up. Rock and roll is full of these great stories of crazy things, but then it's like, oh, okay, you shot dope like you were, Keith Richards. Did you write a song as good as Keith Richards? You hung somebody out of a fucking hotel room window, or you fucked 20 groupies. I love it. I love all that shit. But is the proof in the pudding? Did you deliver? Did you do all that shit and make something great on your record and play a great show? And often the answer is no. Often people don't deliver. It was like, okay, Phil Spector gave you all the insanity you could ever want, and there's a bunch of great stories in here, but did you deliver the record? And when you so clearly hear these other versions, like the demo that you wanted to play of the song you like, which you like better than the one on the record, and then of course, as I said before, that Rock and Roll High School. I mean, to me, Rock and Roll High School is such a definitive, perfect Ramones song. And the fact that Spector blew it and spent, 10 hours just trying to get the bell sound right and whatever. And it's like, dude, you failed. It's not that good. And that's the one they made the video of. But it's not the one in the movie. The one in the movie is the right one that's produced correctly,
Yeah. It's definitely that. I mean, it's like there's pre end of the century and there's post end of the century. I mean, there were a bunch of great records after it, like Pleasant Dreams and Too Tough to Die. I like that record. Subterranean Jungle.
I like songs on all of those.
Yeah, right, right, totally.
I liked Outsider. I think was on Subterranean,
right.
And
there's a greatest hits.
Psychotherapy was okay.
There's a lot of the first 4 I can listen to from start to finish, and every song is a fucking killer.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean,
they
I
knock
feel
the ball
like
out of the park. Every song, it's like, all right, bam, bam, grand slam, boom.
And I think Pleasant Dreams, again, was their last record like that I can listen to from start to finish and enjoy. I think for all the records that came after, I could put together a good best of.
Yes, exactly. I agree. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's been fun to tear this apart, too. I thought this would be an interesting album and song to see what you thought of it. And if we get to do this again, I'll come up with another kind of oddball, weirdo kind of thing that we can go.
I have a complicated relationship
we can dissect
with self-referential stuff, and this is very self-referential. I mean, it's about their manager, so that's kind of inside baseball stuff. Sometimes I think that stuff works, and sometimes not as much. I think with this song, I give it like a 50-50. I think it works in terms of it stretched this band out a little bit. I think it works in terms of the inside baseball is cool because Danny Fields is one of the coolest guys ever, and there are elements in which it works, but at the end of the day, it doesn't all add up to something that's that remarkable to me. But I gotta say, I haven't thought about this song in a long time, and just listening to it, I'm like, oh, I like this song, and that's me, right? Like I'll make up my mind about something, and then hear it again and go, I was totally fucked on that. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Also, you asked me like an hour ago what song you want to do, so I had to come up with something fast. So
I
there you
love
go.
it. I think we came up with a good one. I think this
Yeah,
was
yeah,
a good
yeah.
Ramones show, and
Didn't put a lot of thought into it. I was just like, Danny says. Yeah, let's
yeah,
do
well,
that.
that's perfect.
yeah.
And you know, I can't thank you enough, Don, for coming out and doing this one. This was a Ramones heavy episode of songs and lyrics.
Right. Peace out. R.I.P. to our bro Frank Kozik, and thanks for having me, Blag. It was a pleasure.
Send checks and 502 record stores and interviews. Oh, but I can't wait to be with you tomorrow, baby. Oh, oh, oh. We got nowhere to go, and it may sound funny, but it's true. Hanging out in 100 feet, watching Get Smart on TV, thinking about you.